Yeah, today we're going to talk about reclaiming feminine power. Hey, sugar. Hey. So excited for y'all to be here. Drop some hearts, say hi in the comments. Let me know how you're feeling today. Let me know if this title is what brought you in. If you want to hear about reclaiming feminine power. Yes. So I posted yesterday. I posted about Reclamation, which is my new offer, and it's Reclamation, the return of feminine power. Hi Mary, hello sister. So good to see you. And I want to just drop in and talk a little bit more about this. Zoe says, hell yeah. I want to talk more about this because there's so much conversation about the divine feminine. Everyone's always talking about the divine feminine and the rising of the divine feminine. And I've been talking about this for years. I've been talking about it for so many years. But I feel like the energy is just getting even more amplified. It's just getting like ramped up even more, and it is asking so much more of us, especially as women. But when I talk about the divine feminine, obviously men have access to that divine feminine energy as well. Jay Mysterious, he said, I don't know how I got here, but Lord, are you calling me pretty? Is that what you're saying? You're saying I'm pretty? And yes, this divine feminine energy is, I mean, honestly, it's not even that it's rising, it is risen. Like, she back. Like, our queen is back. And I want to talk to you about what that means for you, as specifically as a woman, but men, if you're here to support in solidarity, then listen up, because this message is a beautiful transmission for you as well. But obviously, everything that I teach, and my main focus is always for my women, for my girlies. So I want to talk about the divine feminine rising, reclaiming this feminine power, because so many of us right now are in a space in our lives where we are being asked to step into a new level of embodiment, start showing up more fully in our work, start showing up more fully as it relates to, and when I say work, I mean like our soul's mission. I don't mean your shitty 9 to 5 that you've been doing, or whatever job you're doing because you just need to survive. And I'm not telling you to quit. I'm not, no shade to any of that. But what I'm talking about is you stepping into your soul's mission, stepping into what it is that you were designed to express, create, live out, embody, and activate within others in this particular lifetime, in this current lifetime that you have. And I want to kind of move backwards a little bit and just sort of touch on a little bit of some of the things that are happening in the collective right now, because there's so much shifting energetically. A lot of people are feeling tired, they're feeling exhausted, they're needing a lot of rest. I know that's how I've been feeling these last couple of weeks. There's been so much energy coursing through my body, energy coursing through my system that's needed a lot of time to process. And other people are feeling these shifts as well. And it's because our systems are being upgraded, and our systems have been being upgraded for these last several years, especially these last 5, 6 years. 2020 was a huge transitionary year for a lot of people energetically. And it was it created a huge wave of awakening for so many people during that time. And now it's just ramping up even more. And so when I talk about reclaiming feminine power, what I'm talking about is riding the wave of that increasing divine feminine energy, that divine feminine frequency, and reclaiming what has been stolen from us. Because this is what is being reactivated right now, is a remembrance of sacred knowledge that for women, it's living in our cellular memory. But because of the patriarchal system, because of the distortions of what people call the matrix, which I don't like to call it the matrix, because matrix means mother. And that's just one more distortion, is where they take something that's so beautiful and pure and flip it to sort of turn you against the thing that you're supposed to be actually devoted to. And so we are reclaiming what was stolen from us. We are reclaiming what was taken from us. And this journey for me was amplified by my experience in Egypt. So for those of you that don't know, I was in Egypt back in November with my friend Paula, who runs a beautiful retreat called Take Me to Egypt. And we're going back in April. So when I was there with her in November, it was my very first time going to Egypt, going to this sacred ancient land that so many of us have felt connected to and have dreams of, maybe have had past lives as, Egyptians or Cometians, because it was Kemet before it was Egypt. And when I was in Egypt, I had my whole my whole internal system was completely rearranged by the sacred energy of this land. And what I remember feeling while I was there, a few things, well, a lot of things, but a few things that I'm going to talk about here. I remember feeling this really intense dissonance as it related to the juxtaposition of like the old world structures, like the old feminine structures, the pyramids, the temples, the sacred sites, these ancient lands and ancient monuments that people, travel to, millions of people visit, travel to from all over the world every single year. And that juxtaposed with the very oppressive, patriarchal masculine energy that is so heavy and so dominant in Egypt. Egypt is what I have a friend who refers to certain regions of the world as having apex patriarchies, meaning like the patriarchy of America is very different from the patriarchy of some other places in the world. And Egypt is an apex patriarchy where you really feel and can observe the dominance of the male principle in a place like Egypt. And so being in these sacred sites where I'm walking in temples where, our ancient mothers are literally etched into stone. They have statues and monuments erected to, that are relics that they left behind for us to remember them, but them being so heavily guarded by the masculine and so heavily controlled by the masculine to the point where you are not allowed to pray on certain sacred sites. You can't do ceremonies. You can't even dance in some of these places. And I remember feeling there's a lot of anger that rose in my system while enjoying and taking in these treasures, like these ancient treasures. And on top of that, just feeling the absolute powerful presence of these energies that are still like permeating the stone after thousands and thousands and thousands of years. When I went to the Great Pyramid on my very first day there, with the group that Paula created for that experience, I felt so much anger and sadness and grief and just such a deep well of a multitude of emotions were flowing through my body while moving through the pyramid. And there was also this really deep sense of calm and remembrance and peace and tranquility that I was feeling at the same time. And when we were in the sacred chamber, I just cried and cried and cried. I was on my hands and knees, my forehead to the stone, and just releasing so much emotion, so much energy that I knew wasn't just the energy and emotion of my present body, of my present lifetime, but of many, many lifetimes, but also energy from the collective. And so what it started to break open in me was this inner knowing and this remembrance of my magnitude, like the magnitude of who I am as a woman and the lineage that I descend from, and the magnitude of my mission and the magnitude of my power, and to see what these women dreamed of and manifested. Because let's not get it twisted, ancient Kemet, ancient Egypt it's matriarchal land. Okay, like let's not get this twisted at all. There might have been male kings and pharaohs and things like that later on in the lineage of Kemet in Egypt, but it was birthed, it was originated, it was manifested by the great mothers of the past. So let's be very clear about that. And so being there and feeling and witnessing the absolute breadth and depth of what these women constructed, what came from within their core, within their womb consciousness, and then was able to be manifested into the physical reality, was absolutely mind-blowing in so many ways. It was humbling in a sense, but it was also like, how could I be humble at the base of this pyramid, knowing that I descend from the women who created this. And it just made me realize all of the ways in which I have been playing so small in my life, which for a lot of you that might feel surprising or sound surprising because I have such a big presence and I have such a big personality and I'm so bold and expressive and unapologetic in the way that I show up in my work and the way that I speak and the way that I teach, the way that I carry myself, how I am embodied and how I'm able to call women into this work through what it is that I'm embodied. But even in that, I realized the ways in which I had been shrinking myself and playing small and just not thinking big enough. And being at the foot of the Great Pyramid and being in, the gate of Isis, like getting to swim in the Nile through the gate of Isis, from Isis original temple, and walking through Hathor's temple and just kneeling at the foot of the statue of Sekhmet at Karnak. I was just, how the fuck, like, how the fuck could I look at myself and see anything other than absolute greatness? How could I look at myself and see anything other than magic, other than limitless possibility, other than just pure expansiveness, pure possibility, pure energy? And it was so overwhelming in the way that that coursed through my body. And I remember being there and it was just, I felt high the entire time I was in Egypt. Like, I didn't sleep very much. I felt high all the time because the energy was just constantly like activating me and coursing through my body. And I could feel my cells rearranging. I could feel old patterns breaking down and shifting and dissipating and collapsing within my system. I could feel and sense old beliefs and old thought forms collapsing and breaking down. There was just such a powerful and profound restructuring that happened for me in that space. And when I got back, I didn't immediately because I needed to sleep for like 6 days when I got back from Egypt. But then I launched my Selfish Bitch Initiation last month, which ended up being my biggest offering to date. It ended up being my biggest offering in terms of income, in terms of women that I called into the space. And if any of my queens that were in Selfish Bitch Initiation, if you're in here during this live or if you're watching this on the playback, drop into the comments and let us know that you were there, because it was such a profound transmission that we went through in January. We wrapped up on the 28th, and I launched that after getting back from Egypt. And as I've been going through the process of Selfish Bitch Initiation, which is an expansion on what I had done with my Selfish Bitch Masterclass, I had been dreaming up, like, what is the next piece? Like, what is the thing that is underneath all of this? Because there was something new that was brewing. There was something new that was being called forth. And I just remember I kept hearing the word reclamation, reclamation, reclamation over and over and over again, because, excuse me, what I realized in Egypt was that, and so much of what I was feeling, that energy that was coming up, those emotions that were coming up to be felt and to be expressed and released on that sacred land, it was grief over what was taken. It was grief over what had been lost, what had been stolen, but also, even more importantly, over what we as the feminine had given away. What we had given away in our fear, what we had given away in our desire to shrink ourselves and to play small and to acquiesce our power to the distorted masculine, to give up our birthright because we were unwilling to take full responsibility for the magnitude of our power. And this is something that I talk about in my deeper work, in my offerings, like my group offerings and my one-on-one classes and master classes and sessions, is the role that women played in the creation of patriarchy, because we talk so much about what men did and how men betrayed the matriarchs and how they overthrew these cities and civilizations, which is all true, but we don't also talk about what women gave up, what women acquiesced, what women allowed to happen, and what women continue to allow to happen throughout patriarchy. And if you are familiar with my work, you have seen me talk about it all the time. Like, yeah, I call out what men do, but I only call out what men do in the context of what women allow men to do. And taking accountability. Yes, it's time to be accountable. It's time to be accountable. Men need to be accountable for themselves. Women need to be accountable for themselves. And I don't do my work to hold men accountable because that's not my job. My job is to hold myself accountable and to model to women accountability, because it is women's accountability that will call men into rising. That is what will have men rise into their power and into their divine masculinity and getting out of that distorted masculinity that men have been in. And we're already seeing this happening in the collective. We're seeing this with women pulling back their energy. We're seeing this with women entering into long periods of singleness and celibacy, reclaiming our sexual energy, our erotic power, reclaiming our inner fire, reclaiming the things that we have been giving away to men for millennia, that men in the distorted masculine expression have not been worthy of. And we're in one generation, not even a generation, because let's be honest, a decade. Well, I'll say a generation or two, just because of the socio-political shifts that have happened in terms of women, claiming, autonomy when it comes to finances and being able to make our own money and going into the workforce and creating abundance for ourselves financially so that we don't need to be dependent upon men. But really in the last decade, 5 years, where women have just said, you know what? I am not going to listen to the old stories that have been told to me about I'm going to die alone, or I am only half a person unless I have a man to complete me, or if I don't settle, then I'm never going to have a partner. Women are completely throwing away the conditioning that has been projected onto them and instilled in them for so many years, lifetimes, millennia, things that we have been carrying down through our matriarchal lines that we've been holding on to, that is distortion, that is lie, that is a lie, that is not truthful. And we're already seeing such massive shifts that have been happening just in such a short amount of time. And so this idea of reclamation, for me, what came through for me to birth and to offer to you is a portal where, for those women who are still questioning their power to expand, still questioning their ability to speak the truth, to be in their bigness, to be in the full flame of their inner fire, to be connected to their intuition and their sense of inner wisdom. Reclamation is about letting go of all of the things that you have held on to, that have kept you small, that have kept you out of your soul's mission, that have kept you disconnected from your body, that have kept you in people pleasing and over giving and fragmenting yourself for the approval of other people, and reclaiming not just what was stolen, but reclaiming what you gave away, reclaiming what you gave away out of fear, what you gave away from a space of survival, what you gave away in order to feel loved or to feel accepted or to feel like you had community, only for you to get to this point in your life to realize that none of that love, none of that acceptance, none of that community was real, because it was built on a foundation of lies. It was built on a house of cards, that it only took one breath, one time for you to say no, one time for you to choose yourself, one time for you to just honor yourself in order for it all to come crashing down. And so reclamation is an offering. It's a 6-week portal. It's a 6-week temple in honor of our ancient Egyptian mothers, and or in honor of the original matriarchs. It's a journey. It's a descent into full embodiment. It is to come back into the wholeness of who you are. And this process begins on February 18th. We're going to have our initiatory call. And then after that, there's going to be 5 weeks of deep embodiment transmissions to bring you back into resonance with your body, restoring your central axis. And if you've been listening to this and you're already like, oh my God, yes, all you have to do is just comment the word mine, M-I-N-E. It's mine. I'm reclaiming it. If you comment the word mine, you're already going to get sent the link to your inbox. I have it set up so that we can make it nice and easy for you. So if you're hearing this and you want to know more, or you want to start diving into this, just comment mine and then you will get the link. But I want to just read to you a little bit of what it is that we're going to be walking through in this threshold. So some of the things that we're going to be doing is the first, like one of the very first pillars that I'm going to be walking you through is the undoing of smallness. Like this is what I've been talking about, you know, all of this time, is the smallness of like standing at the Great Pyramids, standing in Karnak, standing at the base of these temples and monuments and still thinking that you need to be playing small, that playing small is being humble and playing small is what you need to be doing. Like, absolutely not. Our great mothers, the matriarchs that came before us, they did not play small, okay? Not only did they not play small, they etched their stories, they etched their faces, they etched their bodies, their prayers, their gifts into stone that has withstood the test of time for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. Thousands of years. And they erected these into these absolutely awe-inspiring monuments. Like, I cannot tell you the magnitude of these structures. Unless you see them in person, you cannot understand just how absolutely magnificent these structures are. And our mothers were not playing small. They said, I want bigger and better. Give me more. You motherfuckers are going to know who I am. You're going to know my name. You're going to know my face. You're going to know what I did. And you're going to know what I've left behind. And they had no qualms about that. And so that first pillar of undoing smallness, this idea that I'm too much, or if I say the wrong thing, people aren't going to like me, or I can't be too loud, I can't use my voice, I can't say the thing. Yes, the fuck you can, and you should, and you need to, because that is connected to your soul's mission. This is connected to the very thing that you incarnated into your physical body in order to live out, not just for yourself, but to be in service to humanity, to be in service to the collective. I've been talking about the divine feminine rising, and part of the divine feminine rising, especially if you are a woman, is being connected to your soul's mission to help facilitate the rising and shifting of this consciousness. And if you are not connected to your bigness, if you are not connected to the part of you that needs to shout from the rooftops what it is that you came down here to do and to facilitate, then you are doing a disservice to yourself and to the people who need you. The next pillar is the return of power to the body. So this is, I teach this all the time. I do womb alchemy sessions. I'm always talking about embodiment. Returning the power to the body means that you are not looking outside of yourself. You understand that your authority is you. Your authority is inward. Your authority and your wisdom lives inside your body. It lives inside your womb. Your womb is primordial intelligence. It is an aspect of the great cosmic womb that was implanted into your body to give you access to that womb of creation, that womb of consciousness, so that you will not fear all of the power that you have within you, and so that you will trust that anything that you can dream of and anything that you can desire is possible. And so bringing your authority inward rather than externalizing your authority to systems, because right now you have a lot of people that are, you know, they're descending into madness, looking at some of the things that are going on in the world. They're looking at what governments are doing. They're looking at what these systems are doing, and they feel completely untethered because they've consistently outsourced their authority to these systems, whether it's the government, whether it's patriarchy, whether it's men, whether it's your mama. You have looked outside of yourself to be the authority for your life, but you are the authority of your life. And these systems have trained you to believe that authority lives outside of you, because these systems, these people, society, whatever you want to call it, they need you to look outside of yourself in order for them to have access to your power and your generative capacity. And all of the things that are happening in the world right now, especially here in the West, they are showing us over and over and over again that you cannot depend on these systems. We are watching them collapse before our eyes because the government is not the authority. We are the authority. We are the authority. And so by continuing to outsource and to drain yourself with news broadcasts and doom scrolling on your phone and constantly thinking that something outside of you is going to change what's happening in the collective, you are disconnected and you are never going to be in your power. And so this is why that's the second pillar of what we're going to be diving into, is returning power to the body, recognizing the body as the source of authority. Third pillar, fire. Fire as ancestral intelligence. Fire as ancestral intelligence. Your fire, your passion, your rage, your eros, your eroticism, these are things that can literally move mountains. These are things that can construct pyramids and temples and civilizations. But women have been disconnected from their inner fire. They've been disconnected from their inner passion, or they think that their passion is only supposed to be relegated for when they're fucking some dude. And that is not what your fire is meant to be for. I mean, not that it's not meant to, because of course you want to do that, do your thing, girl. But what I mean is your fire is the flame that burns inside of you, that keeps you connected to your mission. It keeps you connected to recognizing where things are misaligned in your field, where they are misaligned in nature, where there is injustice happening, not just collectively, but the injustice that's happening in your life, the injustice that you are allowing to exist in your own personal sphere. It's reclaiming this ferocity and protecting your creations with ferocity. I talk a lot about the ferocity and the grace of the lioness, because we're told that the lion, the male lion, is the king of the jungle, and all of the propaganda that we used to hear. And I always talk about the Lion King. I say the Lion King is probably Disney's biggest, all of its propaganda, but it's one of their worst pieces of propaganda, because it has taught us that it is the male lion that runs the pride. But it's not the male lion that runs the pride. It is the lionesses that run the pride, and they run the pride as a sisterhood. It's matriarchal. It is a matriarchal community. And the lioness is more ferocious than the lion. The lionesses are the hunters, and they are the protectors. The role of the lion is to protect the perimeter of their environment. But if the lion isn't doing his job, the lionesses will take him out, or they will allow another lion to come in and take him out. If anyone is coming after the cubs, it is the lioness that protects the cubs. It's the lioness that gets the food, and it is the lioness that keeps the lions in check. And so this ferocity that is inherent in women has something that has been stolen from us. There's this idea that the feminine is just soft and receptive, and she's just so nurturing. But the feminine is not just soft and receptive. The feminine is ferocious. She can be violent. She is destructive. She will destroy anything that is misaligned or that is coming after her creation. And she will do it unapologetically. When you look at the way that nature operates, nature is unapologetic in her ferocity. And this is across the animal kingdom. And so reclaiming fire as ancestral intelligence is the third pillar of what we're going to be diving into in Reclamation, the return of feminine power. The fourth pillar is intuition as embodied authority. And this ties in with what I was saying about coming back to the body as authority. Your intuition, your inner wisdom is your compass. It is what is designed to guide you. You do not need to look outside of yourself for anything. You can simply turn inward and get the answers to everything that it is that you need. We're currently living in a society where, science, right? Or I call it scientism, has sort of taken over as the new global religion, where if a bunch of people in white lab coats haven't studied it and can't replicate it and they can't explain it, then it isn't real. It isn't true. I was posting on Threads yesterday, and I talked about my womb alchemy sessions, because I have helped women reestablish connection with their womb. I've had women who have had one session with me, and then after having years and years of painful periods with heavy flow, lots of cramping, lots of big blood clots, one session after talking to their womb, having painless periods lasting 2 or 3 days. Because our intuition and our intelligence lives inside of our body. And when I was talking about my womb alchemy session on Threads, I had some, I call them like the dude bros or the tech bros. He comes into my comments and asks me, do you have any peer reviewed research for to back up your claims? And I'm like, I ignored it. Like, I'm not even going to answer that, because why would I? Why would I? Because the systems that we are externalizing our power to, they are dependent upon women's ignorance of ourselves. They're dependent upon women not knowing our power. They're dependent on women knowing that if I don't want something in my womb, I can tell my womb to get rid of it. I can tell my womb to remove it. And I'm talking about all kinds of things. Just use your context clues here, because I can't talk too deeply about this on live. But this idea that if somebody hasn't studied it in this very rigid, structured, highly masculine system, then it isn't real. That is a testament to not just the ignorance of the feminine principle, but malice towards the feminine principle. And my role is to help women reestablish this connection to their intuition, your intuition as your compass to guide you. And then the last pillar is devotion. Devotion as your axis of orientation. And what do I mean by devotion? Because we talk a lot about discipline, right? We talk a lot about discipline. Every time you're looking around on social media, like how to get things done, how to accomplish things, it's all about discipline. But I'm not talking about discipline. I'm talking about devotion. I'm talking about a reverence for yourself, reverence for your power, and the way that you show up and embody your presence every single day. And it's going to look different every single day, because women are cyclical beings. We are not, we don't have a 24-hour hormone cycle the way that men do. Like when we talk about discipline, it's very masculine in terms of how it honors the cycle, the 24-hour cycle for men. Men can wake up and have the exact same routine every single day because their hormones reset every 24 hours. But women's bodies don't operate that way. You know, and if you don't know, you're about to know that our bodies operate on a roughly 28-day cycle, or like a lunar cycle. We have 4 seasons within our body. We have a follicular phase, we have an ovulatory phase, we have a menstrual phase, and we have a luteal phase. And every single phase has a different level of hormonal output. It has a different level of energy output. It has a different level of what it is that is asking of you in terms of how you show up for yourself in your day-to-day life. And so devotion is about knowing your body, being connected to your intuition, being able to ask yourself, what is it that you need right now in this moment? What is it that you need today? What is it that needs to happen this week that is going to best support you, being me, my body, and the mission that I came down here to live out, the mission that I came down here to express, being devoted to the way in which you honor yourself first and foremost as a creative, intuitive being, as a woman, as the embodiment of the divine feminine frequency. And that devotion is your axis of orientation, because no matter what is happening around you, no matter what is happening within you, that devotion is going to keep you oriented to yourself. It's going to keep you from sliding into chaos. It will keep you from sliding into the external chaos. There is so much chaos that is being directed at us in the media, or by the media right now. And so much of that is designed to keep us disconnected from ourselves, to keep us in a fear consciousness, to keep us disconnected from our own internal axis. And reclaiming that sense of devotion is what's going to keep you grounded no matter what is happening around you. So those are the 5 pillars that we're going to be diving into throughout the process of reclamation, so that you can understand exactly how to reclaim and return to your seat of feminine power. If you've been listening to this and you missed what I said a few minutes ago before I started diving into the pillars of this offering, and you are so lit up by this, you're feeling like this, your cells are buzzing in your body, you're feeling the energy coursing through your veins, you're feeling like the fuck yes of it all, comment mine, and you will get the link to Reclamation sent to your inbox right away. And again, like going back to what I was saying before about why I created this offering, it's because this is so important and integral to the work that I do. It's my job is to help the other women who are being called into their awakening reclaim their power. This is what I've been doing all of this time anyway. And now I have had a chance to encapsulate this into a really beautiful and powerful offering that builds on the Selfish Bitch initiation, which is all about devotion and honoring the self, honoring the soul's mission, and being ferocious about the way in which you guard and protect your soul's mission, guard and protect your creation, your creative energy, protecting yourself, your body, and your physical being. Reclamation is the next phase of this. It's about reclaiming what it is that was stolen from us, but also recognizing what we have given away. And so this is for the women who that are in the spiritual work already. You've been doing the work, you've been taking the classes, you've been taking the workshops, you've been doing your meditations, you've been doing your breath work, you've been doing all of the things, but you're still feeling disconnected. You're still feeling like you don't fully know who you are. You are still sliding into those old programs of people pleasing and overgiving and allowing yourself to be open for all types of energies to come into your being and to siphon your energy, because you don't fully understand the magnitude of your power, and you don't understand how you were supposed to be expressing the magnitude of that power. This is about the women who have a powerful soul's mission. You know what you're here to do. You know what you're here to share with the collective, but you're afraid. You're afraid to step into that bigness. You're afraid to step into the expansiveness of what is calling you, because there's a part of you that's still holding on to those old thought forms, those old patriarchal distortions that tells you if you show up in your bigness, you're going to be attacked, you're going to be vilified, you're going to be burned at the stake. And there's good reason for that, because historically that's what's happened. You know, that has happened. Women have literally been burned at the stake. Women have been killed. Women have been martyred. They have been ostracized for these things in the past, but we are not in that time anymore. That time is long gone, because we have begun the process of rising into a completely new consciousness. And really it's not a new consciousness. It's just the return of the original primordial consciousness that has been suppressed and that has been pushed down for so long. But the beauty of nature is that she always wins in the end. Nature always wins in the end. There is no circumventing nature. There is no circumventing nature. There is no dominating the creator. We are the creation. She is the creator. And she decides how this goes and how this ends up. And as women, as the embodiment of that creator energy, as the givers of life, as the portals of consciousness, which is what constructs reality, it is our job to lean into what it is that we were called here for. So for those of you who have that soul's mission and you feel like I'm scared to say the thing, like, just look at me as an example. You have seen my content. You see the way that I talk. You can feel the passion and the fire radiating off of me right now in this transmission that I'm giving you. This, and I haven't even like, this is just like a little taste of how passionate and fiery I can be. And I'm not afraid of being in that expression, because what I came here to live out, who I came here to be, is the most important thing to me. And this is what I teach in Selfish Bitch, of just, I don't care what anybody else thinks about me. And even if I do care what anybody else thinks about me, I'm not going to betray myself because of what I'm afraid somebody else might think about me or what they might say about me. Because the only way for me to find the people who need me is for me to show up in my bigness, in my authenticity, in my full expression. And so for you who has a powerful soul's mission, whether you are an energy healer, or you are an artist, or you are a guide, or a doula, or a birth doula, or a death doula, or whatever it is that your sacred work is, that you came into this world to do, you're wondering, why haven't I found my people? Where are my clients? Where's my dream family? Where's my soul tribe? Where's my lover? Where's my divine counterpart? They are waiting for you to be who you were designed to be. They're waiting for you to reclaim your power. They're waiting for you to step into the essence of who you are. And until you do that, you're not going to be on the same frequency as them. Your frequency is meant to be up here, but you're existing on this frequency of smallness down here because you're afraid of what people are going to think. And until you raise your frequency up to where you were designed to be and show up in your authenticity, express your fire, express your truth, whatever it is that is bubbling inside of you that needs to come out, you're not going to find the people that need you. And this is what I was saying before about how being disconnected to your soul's mission and being too afraid to show up in your bigness, to show up in the truth of who you are, you're not just doing yourself a disservice, you're doing a disservice to the people who need you. So I'm going to take a quick water break because I've just been but let me know in the comments, like, how is this landing for you? Somebody said the earrings are saying thank you. I love these earrings. I got them from Fashion Nova. Fashion Nova has great jewelry. I love their jewelry. It's like really inexpensive, but so like, I just love how like gaudy it is. They just have like such great like glam gaudy jewelry. But I want to know how you're feeling in the comments, and there's a little bit of a delay. So I'm just going to scroll through and see what some of y'all have said so far. Yes, I'm hearing women dropping mine. They're asking for the link. Comment mine so that'll go straight to your inbox. That'll go straight to your inbox. And leave me a voice note in the comments. Like, I love getting comments from women. So if you have questions about anything, or if there's something that you want to share, you just want to drop in and say like, oh my God, girl, you just like inspired me so much. You lit me up. I'm in. I want to do this. This is what I'm moving through. Let me know, because it also helps me when I'm doing the transmissions and when I'm creating the outlines for each of the calls and the transmissions that are going to be happening in the container. Because when I know the specifics of what women are moving through, then I'll get to I'll be able to talk about that and give you the exact tidbits of guidance that you need in the space. Hi, Paula. Miss Paula is here. I was talking about her at the beginning. She is the creator of the Take Me to Egypt retreat. So if you are interested in going to Egypt, then hit up Miss Paula, because it's her retreat. So please reach out to her, follow her, and let her know that you want to join. We're going in April on from the 1st until the 13th. So please hit up Miss Paula. Miss Massage Health Contour says, amazing, thank you. It's imperative we raise our frequencies to meet our people. Thanks for sharing. It's my pleasure. Authenticity is golden in 2026. Not only is authenticity golden in 2026, authenticity is non-negotiable in 2026. We are seeing what is happening when people show up faking the funk, when they show up inauthentically, when they show up not being themselves. Hold on, I said I was going to drink some water. I need to drink some water. I'm sweating. Authenticity is non-negotiable because this frequency that we're moving into is a frequency of undeniable truth. It is the frequency of revelation. This is why like some of the things that are starting to come out right now, where people are talking about the files, and you guys know which files I'm talking about. You know, people are talking about the files, and all of these things that have been long hidden are being brought to the surface. And, you know, one thing that I want to say about that is, you know, people are not going to be able to hide from the truth, because I was talking about things like the things that are being talked about in the files or being released in the files. I was talking about these things 5-6 years ago, and I was attacked, and I was told that I'm a conspiracy theorist, or that's a far right talking point, or you sound like QAnon. Like, these are the types of things that people were saying to me when I was talking about these things 5 or 6 years ago. And now, as I said just a moment ago, the truth is undeniable. People are not going to be able to stick their heads in the sand anymore. People are not going to be able to lie to themselves. This is collective shadow work that is happening. And the gift and also the deepest pain of shadow work is the more you hide and the more you deny the shadow aspects, when it finally comes to the surface, it is more difficult for you to handle. It's more difficult for you to manage. And anybody that has gone through a dark night of the soul, they've done deep shadow work where they finally started acknowledging those deep shadows within themselves that they had been hiding from, you know that the more you resist it and the more you deny it and hide from it, the more painful it is when you finally have to address it. And so a lot of the pain that people are feeling right now with all of these revelations, and honestly, y'all, it's only just started. It's only just started. It's going to get a lot worse. It is going to get a lot worse. And I was telling people in 2020 and 2021 that it was going to get a lot worse because the frequency of truth is reigning supreme. The shadow, the veil rather, is being lifted from people's eyes. We had a choice up until a certain point. People were given the choice to enter into the shadow work, to face themselves, because you can't face the darkness of the world if you don't face yourself first. And this is why so many people are having such a hard time with what's happening sociopolitically, because they are still in denial of their own shadows. They are in denial of the parts of themselves that are contributing to the collective shadow, because all the things that are happening sociopolitically are the result of consciousness. And the collective consciousness is an amalgamation of individual consciousness. And so whatever it is that you're seeing out in the world that you were struggling with, that you were having a hard time with, or that you're having a hard time facing, it is mirroring back to you the parts within yourself that you are in denial of. And so this is the time. You know, the training wheels have come off. The training wheels were on before, but the training wheels have come off. And so if you have been hiding, if you have been denying yourself, you are going to continue to struggle in the next few years, next decade, really. Miss Jen Gabriana, she says, we are here to release the anger and grief that our grandmothers had to carry in silence. Absolutely. Absolutely. I posted a reel, a carousel rather, a couple of days ago where one of the slides was a grandmother talking about the abuse that she experienced in her marriage. And when she was talking about it in the video to, I believe it was her granddaughter she was talking to, that was probably the first time she had ever told anybody about the things that she was going through. And the beautiful thing about women, you know, because I touched on this before about how, you know, women were burned at the stake and women were ostracized and women experienced a lot of social consequences for being outspoken, for being big, for being unapologetic, for being in their full expression. That is not the case for women in the West. There are women in other parts of the world that are still going through that. But for women in the West, we do not have that level of restriction around us. We have so much freedom. We have so much to be grateful for. And it is our responsibility to help our grandmothers release our great grandmothers and so on and so forth, process what it is that they had been carrying all of this time that wasn't able to be fully expressed. This is why, like, when women talk about, oh, well, cancer, you know, ovarian cancer runs in my family, or fibroids run in my family, breast cancer runs in my family, that is unhealed trauma. That is the trauma that your grandmother had, that she passed down to her mother through epigenetics, that was passed down to you and that you're passing down to your daughter. And so the women who are healing themselves, the women who are doing the work, who are excavating those shadows and facing those parts of themselves, or facing the darkness of their lineage, they're not just healing themselves. They are also healing their mothers. They're healing their grandmothers. They're healing their ancestresses from many, 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 many generations back, who did not have the voice that we get to have today. And this is another reason why reclamation is so important to me, this offering, because, and it's why I call it the return of feminine power, because the women of our lineages, they did not have access to this power. They dreamed of it, they desired it, it lived within them, but they were living in a time and in a consciousness where they did not have direct access to it. But we are so fortunate and so gifted that we have access to this power. We would be doing a huge disservice to our entire bloodline as women if we did not reclaim this power for ourselves and stand in the responsibility that comes with that power. The responsibility that this power, the power is, I'm twisting up my words. The power that we get is a result of taking that responsibility. And this is something that a lot of men struggle with, because men are, they're not recognizing, or not that men are struggling with, but women are struggling with as it relates to men, because we're looking at men as, well, we need men to do better. We need men to change, and we need men to, shift the way that they're showing up in the world, and all of the things that you hear a lot of women talking about. Excuse me. But our desire for that is an abdication of our power, because when you are outsourcing responsibility, you are outsourcing power. And by women taking responsibility for the way that we are showing up in our relationships, the way that we are abandoning ourselves, the way that we are self-betraying, the way that we are silencing ourselves and playing small and taking responsibility for that, we get the power. And that power is our birthright, because it is the feminine that is the creative principle. It is the feminine that created everything in existence. The feminine birthed all things, including the masculine principle. All of that comes from us. It's like you being a mother and looking to your child and telling your child that they need to take responsibility for everything, when you were the one that created that and instilled in them the consciousness that they have, and then blaming them for it. And so by us reclaiming our power, we're already seeing the shift that is happening in men. There are a lot of men that are continuing to resist, and that will continue to devolve, and those men will get left behind. But the other men who are coming online, that are recognizing and honoring and being devoted to the feminine within them and the feminine outside of them, which is the woman, those men are the ones that are rising. Those are the men that are recognizing what's happening, and they're saying, yes, give me more. I want this. Teach me. Show me who I need to be by holding the standard that will force me to rise. It's not sitting down and, well, you need to do this and you need to do this. It's women having the standard and saying, this is the barrier for entry. My temple is closed and protected, and only the worthiest can enter. And making that a hard requirement. And the men who want to rise to the occasion, they will, because they recognize the gift that is being given to them by you holding that standard, by you holding that power, by you requiring them to become the best version of themselves that they can be. And the men that don't want to be the best versions of themselves, those are the men that are going to be the incels. Those are the red pill bros. Those are the men who are contributing to the male loneliness epidemic. Those are the men who will continue to distort themselves, who will try to project onto women, and they will eventually be bred out of the gene pool as nature intended. Because something that I always say is that patriarchy is a sexual welfare program for men. It has given the lowest common denominator of genes the ability to proliferate through the false system of patriarchy by circumventing female sex selection, which is designed to prevent the subpar genetics from being replicated in the human genome. Yes, this is just the tip of the iceberg. Sage the Ancient said, a man just showed up and bought me something and walked away. Thoughts? I was thankful and nervous. Well, what are your thoughts? You said you were thankful and nervous. And that's the thing, like sometimes like what he demonstrated, like to me, that's beautiful, that a man can look at you and recognize your divinity and want to just offer you something as a form of devotion without asking for anything in return. And the beautiful thing about it is the men that are the most generous are the men that get the most back anyway, because it's the law of reciprocity. And when you honor the feminine, when you truly honor and are devoted to the feminine, you will always receive back tenfold what it is that you put out. I have men buy me things and take care of things for me all the time. And I always happily and graciously receive those things from men because I know that I'm worthy of it and I deserve it. And I don't ever feel like I have to give something in exchange, or that I have to like make up for it, or that I owe them something after the fact. I just had a mechanic come over to fix my water pipe and a couple of other things that had broken on my bus. And this man like charged me nothing. Like he told me like all of his he like quoted me his pricing and everything. And when I called him, he had it was on a Sunday, and he didn't have he had another appointment, but someone had just canceled, and he was just like, wow, you're really lucky. Somebody just canceled. And in my mind, I'm like, I'm not lucky, because that's just what happens for me. Like when I need something, it shows up for me. But I didn't tell him that. I was just like, well, that's amazing. Like, I'm so glad you're available. And I told him like, well, when you come over today, is it all right if I pay you tomorrow? And he was like, well, he's like, sure. Like, you sound really trustworthy. Like, I don't know what it is about you, but you sound really trustworthy. And I was like, well, thank you. I'm really grateful that you feel that from me. And this is just a 5-minute phone call when I was asking him if he was available to come and fix what I needed to be fixed. And then he came over and he spent hours working on the things that I needed fixed. And then he only charged me the service fee, like to show up. He didn't charge me any hourly labor for it. And I don't question things like that, because when men show up and they meet me and they're in my energy, they're in my field, they want to just give me things, and I happily receive that. And I've talked about this in other videos, where I've had other experiences where there was a gentleman that I met on the road who's a mobile mechanic, and he came over and he fixed a bunch of stuff for me, and he charged me nothing. I have a video somewhere. If you scroll down far enough on my page, I think I posted this. It wasn't last year. It would have been maybe in 2024. He told me, he said, you are the divine feminine and I'm here to serve you. That was what this man, strange middle-aged white man that I found on Google, on Google Maps. And he drove out to the Home Depot that I was at and spent hours fixing my stuff and said, you are the divine feminine and I'm here to serve you. And charged me not $1 for what would have cost me probably $500 in labor, because he was charging, I don't know, $150 an hour. And he didn't charge me a penny. And I've had so many experiences like that. So whenever you have a man just show up and bring you a gift, consider it an offering to your temple as a goddess. And this is a man showing reverence to you as a goddess, as the embodiment of the divine feminine. And this is something that I teach women in my work, how to receive, because a lot of us don't know how to receive. We think, well, he's going to want something from me, and like, oh, I have to give something back, or I have to do this, or I have to do him a favor. You don't. Your baseline is to be poured into. Your baseline is to receive. And there are men out there who want to pour into you, that want to give things to you, that want to show you their reverence and their devotion for you, simply because that's their nature. And they have genuine love and reverence for the divine feminine as she is expressed through the woman. Okay. I don't see any more comments, right? Oh, so Sage is like, whoa, yeah, you didn't think of that, did you? So I have to get ready to I'm going to hot yoga. I need to go move my body and get some of this energy out. But I came on here because I just wanted to talk to you about this. Like, this is what reclamation is all about. The return of feminine power, the rising of the divine feminine consciousness, and how you can have this experience for yourself. So if you heard anything that sparked something in your body, in your frequency, in your field, that made you feel like, yes, I have to do this. This is what I want. Drop the comment mine. and you will get the link sent to your inbox, or you can go to the most recent post on my page, which is a really beautiful carousel. I was actually so bummed because the algorithm did not push that carousel at all. And I worked so hard on that carousel. So if you want to go take a look at that and show it some love, I'd really appreciate that. But you can also comment on that carousel, mine, or just come into my DMs and ask me for the link or ask me any questions that you have. Right now, we are in early bird pricing. So we begin on February 18th, so 2 weeks from today. And I'm offering early bird pricing right now, but the price will continue to go up until it gets to its final price by the time we begin and open the container on February 18th. So if you want to join at that early bird pricing, go ahead and get locked in now. I don't let people know when the price is going up. I want you to really honor the intuition. I want you to honor the feeling that is coming up in your body. Let this be your first step in reclaiming the part of yourself, the woman within you who honors herself first and foremost, who honors that intuitive hit, who honors that voice that says, this is for you. This is something that is going to shift your life, that is going to shift the trajectory of your life. I just had a bunch of women, dozens of women in my Selfish Bitch initiation who had massive transformations in just the 21 days that we got to work together in that space. Like really, really beautiful transformations of setting strong boundaries, changing their relationships with their mother, cutting off men in situationships, really owning their power and stepping into their fullness. One woman just left me a message today because she had a job offer. She had applied for a job and it was a job that she really wanted, and they gave her the job offer, but it turned out that the rate that they were offering her was less than she expected. And based on her experience and the level of energy that she would have to be giving to this job, it just didn't feel right to her. And she talked to her womb exactly how I taught her how to talk to her womb. And she turned down that job offer. And she sent me a message telling me about it and saying how amazing it felt to trust her body, to feel so grounded and confident in saying no to something that was misaligned for her, and trusting that she is worth more and that she is worthy of more. And that is just one piece of transformation that somebody got to experience in one of my containers. And so I want to continue to offer this work to women because time is of the essence, y'all. Time is of the essence. And I want you to be in your full power, in your full expression. I want you to think about the women, the mothers, the goddesses who constructed those monuments in Egypt, and how unapologetic they were in showing you how powerful they are, how powerful and how big and ostentatious and audacious these women were. And they were so ostentatious, so audacious, so unapologetic that what they built is still standing thousands and thousands and thousands of years later. That's legacy. That's legacy. And so many of you women have powerful, powerful missions through. You have legacies to build, but you're not building your legacy because you're too afraid of being the big badass that you are and that you were designed to be. And so I want you to get into reclamation, the return of feminine power, so that you can reclaim your birthright. I love you all so much. Thank you so much for being here, for listening. I'm going to be posting this on my page as well. So if you're seeing this after the live and you're seeing this on my feed, drop into the comments. Let me know how you're feeling. You can also ask for the link in the comments of this video on my feed. Just comment mine. And yeah. And if you want to send me a DM, let me know. Just drop into my DMs. I love voice notes. I love questions. Just let me know how you're feeling. Let me know what you want to know, how I can guide you into reclamation, how I can be a better service to you. I love you all so much. Have a beautiful day wherever you are. You're amazing, Cafe Olay. You're amazing. Thank you, Paula. Thank you so much for being here. Please reach out to Paula if you want to go to Egypt. I'm so excited for this journey, so excited for this trip, going back twice in 6 months. That's how amazing and transformative it was. And if you want to join us, then she is your woman. She has created and curated such a beautiful, luxurious experience, and I guarantee you will not regret a single moment. Okay? I love you all so much. Have a great day. Have a great evening, and I'll see you soon.